goddess of sex, lust, love, and beauty. Freya is also a goddess of war. And you know the legendary warriors that go to Valhalla? Yeah, they're second round draft picks. Freya gets to pick first among all the slain Viking warriors for her own legendary Warriors Hall of Fame that you probably never heard of. And what even fewer people heard of is that Freya once had a gangbang with 4 dwarves. To be fair, we don't know if it was a gangbang or if the 4 dwarves took turns. Is my video gonna get demonetized for saying the word gangbang? Gangbang, 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 gangbang. That's a tongue twister, man. Yeah, I'm aware my videos are being used as educational videos in some schools. I know now y'all want to know the details about the gang that banged Freya, but there's a structure to this video, and there is a lot more to Freya and her stories. So, let's do this. Freya's story starts away from Asgard because Freya is not an Aesir goddess. She is of a different lineage, a different realm. Freya is a Vanir goddess from Vanaheim, daughter of the mighty Njord, god of the sea, king of the Vanir, and a thorn in Odin's side. Because even though Odin ruled from Asgard, the mighty Allfather wanted supremacy over all the 9 realms. So Odin and the Aesir gods, you know, Thor, Tyr, Heimdall and them, they went to war with Njord and the Vanir, the most notable of which are Njord's children, the twins Freyja and Frigg. Gods versus gods, an endless war. And that's not me embellishing, it literally was an endless war, which also made it a pointless war to continue since the only consistent outcome was continuous bloodshed. Find the social commentary in this one. So the Aesir and the Vanir eventually had to come to peace terms and agreed to exchange hostages and merge their lineages. Being the loving father that he is, Njord's choice for a hostage was his own daughter Freya, and thus Freya was made an Aesir goddess. And before long, she more than merged into Aesir culture. She ascended to be one of the most important goddesses in Asgard, a symbol of beauty and everything men and women desire, lust, love, and wealth. But at the same time, Freya was a fierce warrior, and yet none of this mentions her most defining feature. Freya was a völva, and as such she practiced Seidr, which is just an ancient Norse way to say she was a seer and thus could see into the future. In the ancient North, that was considered a very feminine quality, but there was one man, a god, who was above such small-minded stereotypes and desired the power anyway: Odin. Odin was obsessed with seeing the future of the cosmos because he made it his life's mission to prevent Ragnarok. And since Freya was one of the few able to see the future, Odin really respected Freya big time, which is to say he was mad thirsty for Freya's divine booty and really tried to tap that. Lucky for Odin, Freya was about that life, and her and Odin got it on. But to be fair, Freya really was about that life and also got it on with a bunch of other gods. Which ones exactly is unknown, but according to Loki, Freya got it on with literally, and I quote here, everybody. End of quote. And by everybody, Loki also included himself and Freya's twin brother Freyr. A serious accusation coming out of a drunk Loki at one of the Aesir gods' famed feasts. At this particular feast, drunk Loki went on a serious rant, literally dissing all the gods, and also felt like it was time for history's first serious case of some slut-shaming, so he also laid it on all the Norse goddesses, claiming they all slept with him and everybody else here too. And Loki specifically also singled out Freya. But the thing is, we're talking about Freya. We're talking about the personification of beauty and lust. You think you're gonna shame her for enjoying her beauty and lust? Bro, when I tell you Freya took off them earrings and them heels with a quickness, you know what I mean? You don't mess with Freya. And you certainly don't shame her because Freya does what Freya does. Which reminds me of... So the story starts with Freya wanting a special necklace that 4 dwarves made, and the 4 dwarves wanted Freya, so Freya slept with all of them. End of story. To be fair, some people do that for just a fancy handbag. I'm just saying, at least Freya did it for a magical necklace, you know what I mean? But actually, let me rewind here a little. The necklace in question is Brisingamen, and it was another masterpiece of dwarven craftsmanship. A necklace that makes its wearer irresistible, which actually that's entirely unnecessary for Freya to have because she's literally the personification of lust and quite irresistible. But whatever, I guess even the perfect goddess, the personification of lust, love, and beauty, had insecurities about maybe not being desirable anymore. How very human of her. Honestly makes me feel a little bit better about myself. Yeah. So 4 naughty knights with 4 naughty dwarfs it was. And if you're trying to visualize this one now, I'll have you know that there is no indication in Norse mythology that dwarfs are actually short. That's never mentioned. Also note that this whole Freya and the dwarf story is highly controversial and very influenced by later Christian writings. So I have extensive notes on this at the end of the video. After Freya slept with the dwarf, she was rocking some serious bling, and Loki took notice. And it didn't take him long to find out what Freya did to get that bling, and it was a new opportunity for Loki to sow chaos. So Loki did what Loki does, and he told Freya's other lover, Odin. Odin was pissed that Freya slept with the dwarves, which is pretty ironic coming from a guy who was literally cheating on his wife with Freya. But hey, again, how very human of the mighty god Odin to be insecure and butthurt over his mistress having other lovers. Well, you know. So Odin took the necklace from Freya and told her that if she wants it back, she has to use her magic to curse 2 human kings to wage war against one another for eternity until a Christian king defeats them. If that seems super random, that's because it is super random. And again, that's that Christian influence that I have extensive notes on later in this video. Alright, now you get the picture that Freya is a goddess as beautiful as she is desired and as desired as she is lustful. This is in line with the Vanir tribe because, reminder, Freya is not an Aesir goddess. She is Vanir, and if the Aesir gods are defined by being strict and ordered, then the Vanir gods are like the hippie gods. And fittingly, they are mostly worshipped for fertility. Freya and her twin brother Freyr are the goddess and god of fertility, and her brother Freyr's symbol is literally a phallus. For those lesser versed in English language, that means his symbol was a dick. Yeah, the Vanir were really about that life, and that's why Freya wasn't shy about it either. This was a goddess freed from all shackles, and the beauty in all of this is that her name, Freya, literally translates to lady, since she was seen as the epitome of a lady. So there's some really relevant social commentary in here along the lines of a true lady simply being free from social expectations, owning her own body and sexuality, being unshackled. You know, just food for thought. Problem was, Freya was kind of married. Yeah, she had a husband. Technically, her and Odin, her and the dwarves, her and whoever, yeah, that was all cheating. Even though the Norse were very sexually open and women were also empowered and independent, fidelity within marriage was still sacred. So Freya was supposed to be faithful to her husband, Odr. But throughout all mythological texts, it is said that her husband Odr was literally never around, like never. And bro, if your wife is the goddess of lust personified, bro, what you doing leaving her alone? What you think she's gonna do? I mean, come on. And it's not like Freya didn't care about her husband. She wanted him to be there. In fact, Freya cried so much over him constantly leaving and her being alone that her tears fell onto Midgard, our earth, where they materialized into gold. Hence, why Freya is also known as the goddess of wealth. And because Freya was always alone, Literally everybody treated her as single and wanted to marry this already married woman. Not just the gods either. Even the Jötnar, the enemies of the gods, were simping for Freyja. So one of the Jötnar, the builder Svadilfari, approached the Aesir gods when he heard that they needed a defensive wall built around Asgard and they didn't have the labor to do it. So Svadilfari came in with an offer. I can build your wall for you, but in return, I want Freyja. Loki was in charge of the construction and he agreed to the deal, but before the giant finished the wall and cashed in on Freyja as his reward, Loki transformed into a horse and lured the giant's workhorse away to have sex with it so that the giant couldn't finish the job in time. And then Loki was pregnant and gave birth to a horse with 8 legs. Yeah, I know you have questions on this, so watch my Loki video where I go more in detail. The other Jotun that tried to force Freyja's hand was King Thrym, the king of the Jötnar. Thrym stole Thor's hammer Mjolnir in complete secrecy. No one knew who stole the hammer, and all of Asgard was in a panic because, oh my god, Thor's hammer is gone, we need it, because it's not even ridiculous. Mjolnir was so powerful in Thor's hands that they really needed Thor to have Mjolnir to protect the realm. Without it, Asgard was unprotected. So finding Thor's hammer became everybody's priority number 1. Sounds like a bachelorette party for goddesses. Conveniently, Freyja had a magical cloak made of feathers, and whoever wears it can fly. So to aid with the search, she gave Loki that coat, and Loki flew around the 9 realms until he located Mjolnir in Jotunheim, the land of the Jötnar. There, Loki talked to King Thrym, who offered him a deal. I can give you the hammer back, but in return, I want Freyja. Loki was like, that sounds very familiar, and remembered how bargaining Freyja the first time didn't work out so well. So of course, Loki agreed to the deal. Hey, listen, I told you, Loki does what Loki does. It's another chance for him to sow chaos. So I get it. Loki reported back to Freyja, and Freyja was so angry at him that her outburst sent an earthquake through Asgard, and in the trembles, Freyja's special necklace fell off. Remember? Brisingamen, the 4 dwarfs, of course you remember, they're still living in your head rent-free. And do you also remember what the necklace Brisingamen does? Make the wearer irresistible. So Freyja and Heimdall came up with an idea. Let's dress Thor up in a wedding dress and make him wear the necklace so that he's irresistible and he can pretend to be Freyja. It's a genius. And then he can get the hammer back. Literally the plot if Adam Sandler ever did a Norse Mythology comedy. So that's what they did. And it worked. Wearing a wedding dress like he was born to do it, Thor fooled all the Jötnar at the wedding, who were mesmerized by the magical necklace. And when fake Freyja Thor was presented with his wedding gift, his hammer Mjolnir, he kindly returned the favor and presented the giants with their wedding gift. He killed everybody in the room, smashed all of their heads in, aka the first Red Wedding. The Valkyries. You know about the Valkyries. Sometimes they are depicted as winged warrior women, sometimes they are warrior women on winged horses, sometimes they are warrior women on winged wolves. But you get the gist. The Valkyries are always warrior women, and they scour the battlefields to collect the souls of the bravest slain warriors and deliver them to Valhalla, Odin's great halls, where these warriors then eternally train and drink for Ragnarok, the ultimate battle at the end of times. That's the story that everybody knows. What no one knows is that all these dudes, Odin godders, are literally Freyja's sloppy seconds. Freyja is the lady of Folkvangr, and for her Hall of Fame of warriors, she gets the first pick amongst the slain Vikings, and the Valkyries deliver them to her first. Yeah, even though the Valkyries serve Odin. And because of that, there's a common misconception that the Valkyries somehow serve Freyja and that Freyja is a Valkyrie or the queen of the Valkyries. Nah, she just gets first pick. And we don't really know why Odin would allow Freyja such a courtesy. A common theory is that it was part of the peace agreement between the Vanir and the Aesir after the war, you know. The Aesir get Freyja and also she gets first pick of the slain, but no one really knows why. And in the end, it doesn't really matter because all the warriors from Valhalla and all the warriors in Freyja's Folkvangr, they all serve the same purpose. They all fight in Ragnarok against the army of evil. Most believe that Folkvangr really only differs from Valhalla in its appearance. Folkvangr literally translates to field of armies, and since Freyja rules over it, it is believed to be a beautiful field, you know, mirroring Freyja's beauty, just filled with armies, training and chilling in nature rather than training and drinking in a mead hall in Valhalla. It's also assumed that Freyja picked the more refined warriors, the ones that are not just about drinking, ravaging, and fighting mindlessly like animals. Kind of if Odin's Valhalla-bound warriors are more like super alpha Dothraki, then Freyja's warriors would be more like the Jaime Lannisters. Still alpha, still brave, still ruthless, still driven by passion, but all packaged within a touch of class and elegance. Just like the goddess Freyja herself. Time for the extra notes. As you could tell, that whole Valkyrie section was filled with a lot of me assuming things. And in fact, that's true for a lot of this video and a lot of Norse mythology tales in general, since so many of them are poorly documented or scattered and vary over times. A great example of that are the dwarves. Nowadays, they're just dwarves and assumed to be short, but in Norse mythology, they are never described as short. In fact, they're not even dwarfs at all. In the mythology, the elves are called Ljósalfar and the dwarves are called Dökkalfar, which really makes them the black elves or the dark elves. And also, they were more than just cave dwellers. To these dark elves, earth was like water to a fish or air to us. So you can think of them as like dirt fish, literally living in the ground, and contact with sun even turned them into stone. So since the dwarves were dark elves and not gods, they were then described in the ancient texts as lesser supernatural beings. And later, Christians who documented a lot of Norse tales translated lesser to mean short, and then added ugly for no reason. So over time, the dark elves became dwarves who are just short and ugly. And speaking of Christians adding things, the whole part with Freyja and the ganging and the banging with the four dwarfs, this appeared in the Sørla Patra, which was written in the 14th century by two Christian priests. Essentially, it was as much Norse mythology as it was a smear piece meant to discredit the Norse gods and to degrade Freyja. But the story of Freyja and the dwarfs and the necklace still became a mainstay in Norse mythology of today. And if you ask me, it doesn't make Freyja any less amazing. Remember that Freyja is a Vanir, and among many titles, the goddess of lust, the closest thing to the personification of lust. Our standards, or ethics, or morals, or whatever we have, do not apply to her. And also, back in the ancient North, a woman's sexuality was a beautiful and powerful thing, and her business. So they wouldn't have thought anything of Freyja enjoying herself. Of course, that went against Christian values though, so this whole Freyja and the dwarf story was an attempt to suppress all of that and highlight the power of Christianity, which is driven home and made very evident by the fact that this whole story is then resolved with a Christian king that dominates the northern heathen kings. Tell me you're Christian without telling me you're Christian. There's a theory that Freyja and Odin's wife Frigg are actually the same goddess. And there's a lot of reason to believe that. They both have a coat that allows them to fly. They both have the ability of foresight, and their names are Freyja and Frigg, which, if you trace the names back, both originate from the ancient Germanic word Freyja, which means beloved, love, freedom, all attributes associated with either Frigg or Freyja or both. And this ancient Freyja is also the origin for the word Friday. And Freyja's husband was Vodanas, which is the root of the word Wednesday, but more importantly also the root of the word Odin. You still with me? Because I'm gonna throw one more name into the mix here to make it more complicated. Remember Odr, Freyja's husband? Yeah, that sounds an awful lot like Odin, doesn't it? So let me summarize this. We have Freyja and Frigg, who share the same name and origin and similar abilities, and we have Odr and Odin, who share the same name and origin and are both travelers that are always wandering and never really around. Also, both Freyja and Frigg and Odin are associated with Friday and Wednesday respectively. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that all three come from Freyja and Vodanas from the ancient Germanic beliefs. But that doesn't make Freyja and Frigg the same goddess in Norse mythology, because in Norse mythology, they literally both appear within the same story, even talking to one another. So they are two different goddesses in Norse mythology. They just obviously evolved out of the ancient Freyja. And this bit, I didn't really know where to fit it in the video, so I'm gonna add it here. Some texts say that Freyja's cloak that made her fly was made out of falcon wings and literally also transformed her into a falcon. And Freyja also has a battle pig and giant cats that pull her chariot. I mean, all of that is so anime that I love it. And I need an anime with a main character that can transform into a falcon, rides a pig into battle, and has giant cats that also accompany her into her fights. That'll be the most epic anime. I need this. And guys, this is always the cringiest part of every video. So let me bring Zizou into the frame more and one take this. No cuts, all real, all authentic. It is true that subscriptions help a channel a lot. It's huge when people subscribe, and it's so important that the people that subscribe also watch the videos. So if you enjoy what I do here, if you enjoy mythology, do know that I do this twice a week, and you will get this quality twice a week, and it will only continue to improve because this is a new channel. So if you enjoy this and you can see yourself watching these videos, please do subscribe, leave a like, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss the videos when I upload them. And I hope to see you here twice a week, maybe leaving a comment below. It means the world, and I'm happy to have you all on board here. Again, this is brand new for me on YouTube. It's super exciting. Thank you guys for watching. And now you're gonna see what next week's video is going to be. And let me